27th of October, Rabbi Furst, Mishna Berura.
So, right, if I remember, we were just in Sifkat and Yud, if I'm not mistaken, right? The Ramah was
Yeah, that's
explaining,
correct.
right? The Ramah was explaining. Again, we have basically two considerations we have to bear in mind with the chetzitzas, the barriers which will cause a interference with the washing of the hands. That number one, it has to be question whether it's the majority of the area that has to be washed or it's a minority of the area that has to be washed. That's one consideration. And the second consideration is it going to be a substance which people are particular about, that they're makbid about not to have on their hands, or is it going to be a substance that they don't care if it's on their hands or not? And the question is it applicable to the general public, or is it going according to each individual, his own personal preferences? So that's a bit what the Ramah is discussing about over here in Sifkat Yud. As the Ramah mentioned, Avim hayam makbid hu tzorach linikar. And if a person himself, personally, he's makbid about it, he is not with the majority of people. He himself, however, is more careful about it. Let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. People in the medical profession, right? In the medical profession, people have to be much more careful with the cleanliness of their hands, which would be not a hakpada for a person. Let's say a person he sells he sells hardware, so he's picking up nails, he's picking up screws, dealing with all kinds of different materials, right? So his hands are much less clean than, let's say, a nurse in a clinic, in a health clinic, right? Why? Because you have to be much more fastidious about the cleanliness of your hands in a health clinic than you do in a hardware store, right? Because you're simply dealing with different materials and the different levels of cleanliness which are required, right? A person, for example, a person works in a restaurant. You go into restaurants. Sometimes, if the employees use the same bathroom as the customers, so it is very common in the United States that various different um, food and sanitation and health departments post signs in the bathrooms, the lavatories of the various different food service institutions that the employees must be very careful to wash their hands before they exit the bathroom, right? Because they're going to do all kinds of things in the bathroom, and then they're going to come out and start mixing your coleslaw for you, right? Not very appetizing. Not very healthy either.
Yeah.
Hey, what was I forgot what was her name? Botulism Mary or somebody like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Typhoid Mary.
Oh,
Ah, there you
typhoid.
go. Typhoid Mary. Why? What was her problem?
She had typhoid and she gave it to everybody that she came into contact with.
Yeah. And especially if a person's going to be working in a restaurant, mixing coleslaw for people, right? So you can spread a lot of germs that way, right? So the health departments are very careful to make the employees aware and responsible to wash their hands, right? So the cleanliness, the akpada, which is required in various different settings, depends on exactly that, the conditions by which the people are going to be exposed to and affecting other people. So therefore, that's what we're talking about over here. So let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah. It says if a person himself is makpid, then he will need to, and we're talking about cleaning out the dirt that's underneath your fingernails, right?
Right.
Okay, let's see, Lou, maybe you would like to read, there read the first year, if you'd like to read the second.
Okay. Machpid who? He is particular. Mashma afal pi she harov einan makpidin. Actually, even though that the majority is not particular.
Right, this mashman implies what the Ramah is saying is he's implying that this particular person is particular, but the majority of people are not particular. Right?
Right. So, but even though the majority are not particular, Kavan dehu makpid as linan batre bechotzes. Since that he is particular, as what's as linan?
As leading, literally, we go after him. We go after him.
Go after him to be strict.
Right. He'll have to be strict. He'll have to be strict and clean his hands because he's particularly um strict.
Umikol makom nir'eh dehayinu dafka betit hayotzrin o betit yavesh. Nevertheless, it appears that it is specifically clay. What is hayotzrin?
Potters.
Potter's clay, or what is yavesh?
When it's dry.
Or dry clay. Aval betit lach o ba'afar shetachas hatziforen kineged habasar she'eno nidbak kolkach ein lehach mid. But with clay, what is lach?
With clay that is moist.
That is moist, or with dust.
Yeah, that's right.
Shetachas, that is underneath. Tiporen is his fingernails.
Exactly, very good.
Kineged habasar, touching his flesh. She'eno nidbak, that he's not kolkach.
It's not so attached. It's not so attached.
It's not so attached. Ein lahachmir. He's not going to be strict. uvif rat im kol hayom ein darko lahafkid the hakpid. I don't know what vif rat is.
Ubiprat, and specifically, right? So that which is underneath the fingernail, which is by the flesh, that they're not, it's not connected, it's not stuck there so much. Ein lahakmi, you don't have to be strict to remove it. Ubiprat, and specifically in a case, in kol hayom ein darko lahakpid, and especially if the whole day goes by and it's not his way that he's strict about this.
It's not his way strict. Rak shemagia linatila. He's only he's only touching. Wait,
No, hakbid. He's only particular about it when it comes to washing his hands. If the
only when washing of the hands.
Right. So it means like this: if even though he may have certain substances, dust, or dirt underneath his fingernail, which is attached to the to his skin, still. It's not going to be a requirement for him to remove that, because if he's the type of person that goes around the whole day with it there, and the only time he would have to and want to clean out the dirt from underneath his fingernails is if he would be washing his hands for Natilas Yadayim. So that's not considered to be a true hakpada, because he goes the whole day with that stuff on his fingernails, right? It's only something, part of what they're talking about here is being particular about substances that as soon as it gets on your hands, you would want to remove it. You wouldn't want that stuff on your hands, right?
Right, but if you're not if you're not particular about it, then what? You don't have to remove it.
Then you don't have to remove it, right? Unless it's something which everybody's makpid about it, right? But if people in general not makpid, and let's say this person is makpid, but the only time he would be makpid would be to wash his hands. But if he's not washing his hands, he doesn't care about it. It doesn't bother him. He's got a little dirt under his fingernail, right?
Right.
So then he doesn't have to take it. He doesn't have to remove it. It's not a chitzitza. Good. Okay, so that brings us to the end of Sif Aleph. Let's continue on, and we'll go on to the Sif base.
Okay, Sif base back in the Mechaber. Kol devar she'eno makpid alav eno chotzes. Anything that a person is not particular about it, chotzes is to intervene.
Yeah, anything that a person that is not particular about is not going to be chotzes. It's not going to be an intervening substance. It's not going to be a barrier to the water. It's not going to be considered. Let's put it this way. It's not considered to be a halakhic barrier to the water.
Haya darko shel zeh lahakpid v'zeh ein darko lahakpid. And it is his way to be particular with this. And it's not his way to be particular.
But let's see. Haya darko shozel lahakpid, v'zeh ein darko lahakpid. Let's say there's something this person's derek that it is makpid, and this person's derek is not to be. You know, some people yes, some people not.
Lemi shedarko lahakpid, the one who it's his way to be particular, chotzes. So he has to be concerned about removing this stuff.
Oh,
Lemi she'ein darko lahakpid eino chotzes. And the one who is not particular about this particular material, he doesn't have to remove it.
very
Ketzad,
good.
how so? Haya echad tzava. If a person is a painter, v'hayu yadav tvuos, and there was dirt on his hand. Ein hatzeva chotzeis al yadav af al pi sheyesh al yadav mamashus shel tziv'onim. So he's a painter, and he has dirt on his hand. I guess maybe it's paint. He has paint on his hand. He's not required to be. He's not required to remove it from his hand, even though that there is on his hand mamashus. What's mamashus?
Mamashus means there is a presence of paint on his hands.
Even though he's got actual paint on his hands, he doesn't have to remove it because he's a painter and he's used to it. He's always got paint on his hands.
Right.
Below hayat tzaba. What's tzaba?
A person who's not a painter.
Person who's not a painter. Im hayu yadav tzivuos. If he has on his hands paint, yesh mamash hatzeva al yadav, and there is a presence of paint on his hands. Harei zeh chotzeis. This person has to remove the paint.
No, like take one of us, right? One of it. You know, I from time to time I've done painting in my house. I have to do touch-ups, and I'll take a paintbrush and roll and all that stuff, and paint here and paint there. I get paint on my hands. I don't want it there. As soon as I finish with the job, I go into the bathroom, start scrubbing away, right? Get all that paint off, right?
Right.
But
And you're obligated to do it.
Yeah, right. I'm obligated to do it if I'm going to wash for a month. But a painter, his hands are all they're full of paint all day. I'll give you an example. My grandfather, Abba Shalom, he studied to be an accountant, but the depression came along, and there were no jobs for accountants, and no one wanted an accountant during the depression. There was no business. What are you going to add up a bunch of zeros? Anybody can add up zeros, right, Mayor?
That's correct.
So no business, no accountants, no ledgers. So he wanted to find a job. So he had I think another relative that had a gas station, So that was something people needed. People still, there was still trucks going back and forth. And so he became involved with the gas station, and that's what he settled in. To his until he retired. He had a gas station, and actually it was in Bedford, Stuyvesant, very tough neighborhood if you know anything about that. Not an easy neighborhood at all. But I remember he would come home. He would come home at the end of the day, and his hands would be full. He'd wash his hands before he'd leave the station. But when he'd come home, he'd have a box of I think it was borax, 20 mule team power, borax, 20 mule team if you remember that stuff.
Yeah.
And he'd come home and he'd scrub his hands because now he's home and he wants his hands to be as clean as possible. But during the day, his hands were covered with grease and grime, dealing with motors and such. So that's the way it is. So same with a painter. Painter, that's the way they go the whole day with the paint and the grease on the hands. Um, but when they come home, so then they makpid. But in general, they're not makpid about it because that's just their profession. Ooh,
Right.
I see we just made our time. Okay, look, we'll review the Machaber tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, with Sif Base, and very good. Should both have a good afternoon. Hope to see you
Thank you,
both.
Rabbi.
Okay, you too. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Have a good day,
Okay, thank
Maker.
you.
Thank you.
Be
You
well.
too.
Shalom, bye.
Bye-bye.